Chapter 1 review. By the way, tomorrow morning, I'll be here at 7:45. If you feel like this half hour of review is not enough, I will do another half hour of review tomorrow morning before school. So if you want to come at 7:45, I will be here ready to go. Zach, did you have a question?
No,
It's good now? Okay. By the way, you don't have to fill this out. So if you feel like you benefit from just like watching, that's okay. If you feel like writing it down will help you remember it, then write it down. But you do need to engage with me. So interact with me, answer questions, we'll be good to go. Okay, first thing, draw a net for that figure. That is a hexagonal prism. How many shapes should you be drawing? 2 different shapes. How many total shapes? 8, right? You have 6 rectangles that wrap around, and then a hexagon on top and a hexagon on bottom. Okay, so if we were to make a net for this, what I would do is I would just make all the rectangles in one shot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rectangles, right? This is 17. These would all be 8. You don't have to label every single one, but I feel like better to err on the side of too many than not enough, right? What do you do with your hexagons? One on top, one on bottom. Okay, doesn't matter where, anywhere on top, anywhere on bottom, but a hexagon. So something like that and something like that, for instance. Just make sure you're labeling your dimensions so that I know that you know where everything goes, okay? Orthographic. What are the views that you have to give me? Top, right, and front, yes. So a top view, a front view, a right view. We're gonna do all 3 of those right now. The top view is the one that gets done wrong the most, I would say, just because of the perspective you're supposed to come from. Where are you supposed to come from for the top view? From the front. So coming in from the front and then looking down. Remember, it's like you take one of those car smashers, crush the car. We want to look at what we would see from the top if we crushed it flat. So from the top, we would see this like backwards L, right? So that is 3 stories tall next to 1 story tall, something like that. That looks like 3.5, but we'll call it 3. And then right next to that, in that little L cove, is 1 block here. Not my best work. Okay, so that's your top view. What would your front view be? Normally they would put a line here. I don't know why they didn't, but you have 2 on the bottom, right? So 2 blocks across. Where does this go? Left side or right side? The left side. That's 2 stories tall on the left. So it would look like that. Okay, and then your right side view, you have 3 blocks across the bottom. And then 2 blocks on the left, middle, or right of that bottom? In the middle. I did not draw that well. Sorry. That should only be 1 block wide. Questions on that? Okay. Here's a section of the test that is usually a little challenging for some, where you have to determine intersections and types of points and all of that. So if you have questions as we're going through this, make sure you tell me. This first one, you know what? I feel like it's kind of far away. I'm gonna do this and bring it closer so I can zoom in a little more. Okay, So when you're looking at this picture, 3 collinear points. What does that mean to be collinear? On the same line. So give me 3 collinear points right here. U, L, and H. That's the only option. Point U, point L, point H. Make sure if you're naming points for me, name it as a point. Put the little point in front of it, okay? Point U, point L, point H. They're on the same line. How about 4 coplanar points? U, L, H, and E. Any other options? U, L, H, N. Right. So often people think, no, N is not on the plane. It's not on the plane that you're thinking of. It's not on plane S, but it is on a plane, right? If I have this set of points, U, L, and H, in a straight line, and then I pick a point down here, do you see the plane that goes through all of that? Mm-hmm. It's this one, right? There's a vertical plane there that it's going through. So just be careful with that. Even if it looks like it's not on the plane that is given to you, is there a plane that could go through it? Okay. For non-coplanar points, again, this isn't ULHN, right? Everyone wants to say it's ULHN, but there's a plane that goes through ULH and N. Give me 4 non-coplanar points. E, H, L, N. Perfect. Okay, so here's the trick to this. Pick 3 points that are on the given plane that are not in a line. As long as those 3 points are not in a line, any other point that's not on the plane is non-coplanar, right? So you could have said E, U, L, and N, or you could have said E, U, H, and N, but not U, L, H, and N, okay? What's the intersection of these 2 lines? UH and LN. It's point L, yeah. 2 lines are always going to intersect in a point. A line here and a line here, they meet right here, which is point L. Okay, so point L is the intersection there. What is the intersection of UH? Okay, so line UH and plane S. Notice the S here, that's naming this whole plane. What is the intersection? What? L. It's line L. It's line UH, right? Is the same as line L. So here's what you got to pay attention to. If I have a plane and I put a line on that plane, the intersection is the line, right? That's where they touch each other, is anywhere on that line. Okay? What if I have a plane and I have a line that cuts through it? What's their intersection going to be then? Is it going to be a line? It's not going to be a line, right? If we're cutting through. What's the same about the plane and the line? Like this, plane S and line LN. What's their intersection? It's just point L, right? It's just the point that it cuts through the plane. So just pay attention. If there's dotted lines, it means it's cutting through the plane. If there's no dotted line, it is lying on the plane. Okay? Did you have a question, Emily?
I was going to say, can you say like line E or something? Because
you can't say line E because E is just a point.
But I thought it was the little E by the UH, the line UH. The L.
Are you looking at this E?
Yeah. Oh, no, the other E. That's an L.
This right here? That's L.
No, the one.
Oh, this. That's a line. That's L. That's a cursive L. So that's line L. It looks like an E too, yes. But it's a cursive L. But yeah, you could say, for this one, you could say line L, and that would be fine. Yeah. Any questions on that? Intersections? All right. Number 4. 4 and 5 are very similar to each other, and you do them very differently. So you really have to just pay attention to what the question is saying, because the question tells you everything. Number 4, it says L is the midpoint. L is the midpoint of KM. What does that mean? Or what do these mean? They're congruent, right? If L is a midpoint, you have equal parts. So that means this and this have to be what? Equal, congruent to each other, right? So we say 3x plus 2 equals 5x minus 10, and we solve for x. So take away the 3x, you get 2x, add the 10, you get 12, divide by 2, you get 6. Okay, so if x is 6, that's great, solve for x. But now find km. What is km?
You just solve for like both sides and then, or like solve for one and then you know what equals the other one.
It would be 40, yeah. Plug in 6 right here. That's 18 plus 2 is 20. That means this one's 20 also. So km, that full length, is 40. Okay, so if you see the word midpoint or if you see these markings, set them equal. They have to be equal if it's a midpoint, okay? Number 5 doesn't say they're equal. It tells us how long the whole thing is. KZ is 30. How do you set that one up?
7 plus 2.
Yes, you're both right. 7 plus 2t minus 1 equals the 30, right? Add them together, set it equal to the whole thing. So 7 minus 1 is 6, so 2t plus 6 equals 30. Take away the 6, 2t equals 24, divide by 2, so t is 12. Okay, in this case, that's all they ask you for, but if they ask you for yz, then you would just plug it back in here and get the length of that segment. Okay, and that's how you can check your answer too, if you want. It's not a bad idea. Questions so far? Okay, the next one, similar thing with angles. So they tell you angle RZT, RZT. That's the big angle, right? That angle is 110 degrees. RZS is 3S, so that's this one. TZS is 8S, that's this one. What are the measures of those angles? What do you do? Set them equal? Set them equal to 110. Add them together, right? So 3S plus 8S should equal the 110 degrees. So 11S equals 110. Divide by 11. So S is 10. Okay. So to find the measures of the angles, you'll plug that 10 in here and here. So this is 30. This is 80, and that shows you, if you add those together, you do get 110, so then you know you got the right answers. Questions on that? Okay, you do need to know distance and midpoint formula. You have them in your notes, but I'm going to write them down here again, just for those of you that want it all in one place for today. So midpoint formula, that's the x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and the y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Distance formula, that's part B. When they ask you for the length of a segment, they're asking you to find the distance, right? So that's distance formula, the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So what I would do if I were you is I would label your points right off the bat, because even if you feel like I got this is so easy, that's usually when you make the mistakes because you rush through it because it is so easy to you, okay? So just label them. This is x1, y1, this is x2, y2, and then all you have to do is plug those numbers in. So for the midpoint, it's going to be x1, negative 4, plus x2, which is 2, over 2, and then y1, which is 1, plus y2, which is negative 5, divided by 2, and then you simplify. Remember, you need to treat that division bar like parentheses, so you do everything on top and then divide by 2. So negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2, Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. And then this is negative 4 divided by 2, which is negative 2. So that will be your midpoint. Okay, remember when it says find the midpoint, you just plug it in. When you have to find the end point, that's when you got to do a little more work for it. Distance formula, if you plug these in, it's the square root of 2 minus a negative 4 squared plus negative 5 minus 1 squared, okay? And then be careful when you're doing this. If you plug it in, that's fine, but plug it in with that extra parenthesis out in front. So this is 6 squared, or 36. What's negative 6 squared? 36. So even though it's a negative, we're squaring it, it becomes positive. So you get the square root of 72. And if you plug that in, you get what? To the nearest tenth, that would be 8.5. Okay. Is that a hand up, Jack, or just a stretch? Stretch. Do you want to try the end point by yourself? This is the one, I would say, of all the questions on the test, this is the one that gets done wrong the most. Try it on your own or try it with me. I don't care.
Try it
With me. Okay, well, if you want to do it on your own, just ignore me. How about that? And then you can check your answer at the end. If you want to try it with me, stick with me right now. Okay, so you have your x midpoint and your y midpoint. Okay, that's given to you as the midpoint. That's your x sub m and your y sub m. Your end point is going to be your x1 and y1. And the one we're trying to find, our b, is going to be our x2 and y2. Okay, so we're going to plug it in separately. We're going to plug in the x's. We're going to plug in the y's. So for x, we're going to take our midpoint equals our x sub 1, which is 1, plus our x2 divided by 2. So that'll be your setup. And we'll solve that in a minute. Your y setup, you're going to take the 4, the midpoint, equals 11 plus y2 divided by 2. How do you solve those?
You multiply by 2.
Multiply by 2 first on both sides, right? Golden rule of math, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. And then subtract 1. So negative 7 is your x2 value. Okay, same thing on the other side, multiply by 2. So 8 equals 11 plus y2, take away the 11. So you get negative 3 for your y2 value, which means your point B, which is what we were solving for, is negative 7, negative 3. Are you wonderful on that?
No.
Not wonderful?
No.
I'll do another one of those with you at the end. Okay, number 9. Find the circumference and the area. First of all, you should know these formulas. What is circumference? Pi times diameter, or 2 pi r is fine also. Okay, pick one. You don't need to know both. Area is pi r squared. So what is the circumference of a circle? Is this a radius or a diameter, by the way? That's a diameter. Remember, diameter is a longer word. The diameter is longer than the radius, okay? So given a diameter of 18, if I say in terms of pi, what would your answer be? 18 pi inches, right? It's the pi times the diameter. Don't plug it into your calculator. What would the area be? Pi times what? 9 squared. Okay, but we can simplify 9 squared to 81 times pi, and then this is inches squared because it's area, and that will be your setup. Okay, if you're given a radius, it's the same problem. It's just a matter of making sure. So let's say I gave you a separate one where this was 7, a radius of 7, totally separate problem. Your circumference then should be what? 14 pi, right, would be your circumference. Your area would be 49 pi square inches. Okay, so radius squared times pi, inches squared.
How do you get 9 squared?
Now, this one?
Yeah.
So your diameter was 18, but it's pi times the radius squared. So your radius is always half of the diameter. So if your diameter is 18, then your radius is 9. So pi times 9 squared. Okay, last one. Find the area of the irregular figure below. Do you have a formula for this? No, we don't, right? So we have to figure out what we do have formulas for. Copper, what's up?
On the last one, say it's like, in that case, it's like 81 pi inches.
Uh-huh.
So would that be like giving your answer in pi?
This is in terms of pi.
But if it wasn't in terms of pi, would you just multiply
You would
by pi?
81 times pi and get a decimal answer. Yeah. Okay, what would you do with this? There's a lot of options here. How would you find the area of that figure? Copper, what would you do?
Well, you figure out like that little small box at the end.
This one?
Yeah. No. Like the other side. What part of that?
This one.
Yeah, we can work with that.
No? This box?
It's fine. It's whatever. We can work with that second one.
Well, I want to know what you would do.
Well, you see like how it has the 4 and then that side?
I see 2 4s.
Okay.
Which
Just
4?
call it. This one.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so you would make a rectangle here,
Yeah.
okay?
And then we think about how it's gonna do this. So that's 10 inches, and then what's the next step? Let's just estimate maybe about 2
Oh, no, we don't estimate. No, we know.
For that box.
We know. Is it?
Yes.
We don't do abouts.
It is.
How do you know?
Because you get, okay.
No, he's right.
You would
I
get
just want to know
12
why.
Because you would get 12, you add that 8 and the 4. And
Yes.
that 4 is that other 2. So it's
Yep,
2.
so this whole side, right, if we went all the way down, is 12. If we take this 10 away, we're left with 2 right here. Okay, so you could do that. Yep. If you do it this way, I would say then draw a third box up here. So you have 3 boxes to find the area of, right? So we just said this bottom one is 2 by 10. So that would be 20 square units. What are the dimensions of this box? You have 10 on this side, right? That one's given. What's this? 14. How did you get 14?
I added the 10 and the 4.
Right. So down here, 10 here, 4 here is 14. Okay? So 10 by 14, 10 times 14 is 140 square units. What's that last box going to be?
I want to say 8. I want to say 8 times
8. Yeah, this would be 8 because the whole thing's 22, right? Take the 14 away, that would be 8. So 4 times 8 is 32. So you have 32 and 20 and 140. So that would be 192 square units. Did anyone do it a different way? Zach, what would you do?
The box on the far left, that's 40. And then the big middle box for 140. And then the far right one for 32.
Okay, so you could also go this way. Right? 3 boxes. It's different dimensions now, but you'll get the same value when you add it all up. So It's up to you how you break it down. You know the area of a rectangle and you can find all the dimensions. Okay? Questions on that? Yeah. Oh, units, because I didn't give like inches or feet or whatever, so I just did UN for units squared. Yeah. Questions on that? Okay. You have like 5 minutes till the bell rings. You may get started on the bookwork. This is not homework. This worksheet does not get submitted. You need to submit the bookwork, okay? So submit the bookwork for homework tonight. I will be here at 7:45 tomorrow morning if you have questions and would like to go over anything. And I'm going to do another find the end point right now for anybody that wants to do that with me. You don't have to. You can ignore me and do the homework right now if you want. Yes, Jasmine. Just turn them in now. Yeah, if you didn't turn in the notes already, get those turned in too. I'm less picky about those being on time. Okay, end point. Let's say you have a midpoint of 2, -1. And one of your endpoints is 7, 6. Olivia, you with me? This one's for you. Okay, so this is your setup. You are going to find your other endpoint, which we'll call x2, y2. So this is your x sub m and your y sub m. That's your midpoint. This is your x sub 1 and your y sub 1. So we're going to say the midpoint, which is 2, equals x1 plus x2. So 7 plus x2 divided by 2. All right, you're just plugging this chunk of it into the midpoint formula. Then for your y's, you would do -1, the midpoint, equals y1 plus y2 divided by 2. And then from there, solve for your missing value. So on the right side here, if we multiply by 2, that's 1. We got to do it on both sides. So 4 equals 7 plus x2. And then take away the 7. So we get -3 for our x2 value. Then do the same thing on the other side, multiply by 2. So -2 equals 6 plus y2. Take away the 6, we get -8 for our y2 value. So that means our other endpoint, our f, is -3, -8. Questions on that? Or anything for that matter?